Hey guys, Chris3 here. Welcome back to my League Racing Season 5 in CFRL. This week we're in Imola for the Imola GP, or the Emilia-Romagna GP, depends how you want to call it. I'm gonna use the shorter name, Imola GP, because it's easier to say. So yeah, welcome and hope you enjoy the qualifying and the race.
Welcome to the circuit named for Ferrari. It is qualifying at a special arena for motorsport. Welcome to Imola.
As we're here, loading into the garage for a full qualifying session, looking straight at the weather, as some weather is going to hit towards the end of Q2 and Q3, and the race. Of course, the weather is glitched, like always in the F1 game. It's showing full dry conditions, but then 92% humidity. So I'm expecting around maybe even full wet tires, but this game, the full wets are not so useful, so maybe inters throughout the whole race. Again here, checking the weather for Q3, as the rain should be coming around 45 minutes to 60 minutes into the session. So we might have a wet session towards the end. So we have to adjust with our setup and everything. So we're going to put a wet setup on instead of a normal dry Imola setup to be ready for the race, have more pace than we would on lower downforce with the dry setup. Like you can see, scrolling down straight down to Imola wet. Do we have more grip in the car when the rain falls on Sunday? Of course, putting fuel down slightly for the qualifying runs. As it is still dry, we'll still have to adjust to the way the car drives on this setup in the dry. But we're gonna go out around the middle of the session. There are 16 drivers on the grid with full quality. That means one gets eliminated in Q1, so we're pretty much safe through. I'm looking to use only one set of softs for this session as we roll out of the garage to one of the longest pit lanes on the F1 calendar. So we will be careful on the pit stops to not overdo them, to not have to box more than once or max twice, depends how the weather turns out in the race. If it's a dry to wet or wet to dry, it looks like it's going to be a wet throughout most of it, but we will see how it turns out on the Sunday as we go in it's still sunny Imola. I don't know how quickly the rain will arrive, but for now it looks like a normal session. We have a yellow flag ahead, someone slowing down out of the Villeneuve chicane, getting up to Tosa. We're going to start our lap very soon, and yeah, we're going to join back at the end of it actually, as it's Q1. We should be getting through safely, missing the apex in the second Rivazza, heading up to the line. What is it going to be? A 15.986. That puts us P6 for the moment, which should get us safely through. Like I said, 16 drivers, so one only getting cut off. We should be faster than them. And here we have the confirmation that yeah, we finished P7, 8/10 of pole or provisional first place in Q1, which is a little bit concerning. But as long as we can get into Q3 with our lap time, we should be safe. But the interesting stuff is going to start later. How quickly the rain arrives in Q2 and how wet Q3 might be. Let's see how that turns out. As we're here in Q2, as you can see, the weather report has changed slightly. We can see rain clouds on the weather report on the screen, which means I'm going out straight away as I load in, trying to get the best lap time possible, as the weather still doesn't look like it's going to rain soon, but there is more clouds in the sky than there were in Q1. So we have to be ready for any circumstance as the game lets through another car going out the pit lane. I don't know what that happens. But yeah, we're going out straight away for our lap, trying to get the best lap possible as soon as we can so we can come back into the garage and then observe the situation. We're gonna go out being jumped, but I think that's one of the Williams still using the F1 World cars because F1 has not sorted out with their equal performance on the normal F1 cars. So we are sticking to the F1 World car as they are at least equal, as it is the same car model. So yeah, going through Villeneuve and then heading up towards the end of our first lap in Q2, going through the Variante Alta, very aggressive on the curbs. Have to jump those curbs massively to gain the most time possible as we head down to Rivazza. The two very difficult corners, very easy to go too wide and invalidate the lap, but missing the second apex a little bit too much. Good on the exit though, heading towards the line. What is the lap going to be? A 15.5, so around a 4/10 improvement from our first lap time in Q1 as we head straight back into the pits. And as you can see, the clouds are getting darker, it's getting grayer over the Imola track, and we head straight into the pits, and we're going to try and do a second lap straight away. We're not wasting any time. This lap time is not really safe. We are around 2.5 to P10, which means we have to improve if we want to reserve our place in Q3 and have a fight for the top positions later on. We get wheeled in back into the garage, and as soon as we get the screen, I'm putting on fresh tires and heading out to get the best track possible still, as there is no rain falling. As you can see, driving out straight away. The track is still drying, although the temperatures might be going down slightly. That might give us a little bit of time, as lowering temperatures gives us a little bit less temperature affecting the tire, so we will have more grip. But yeah, heading out, as you can see, it's getting more and more overcast over the track. Still trying to rush it in, as not many people are out on track, but there should be more and more getting out if they want to get through into Q3, because all of us here in the bottom, 8, can get that spot in Q3 if we get the best lap we can, and we head out for our second lap in Q2. So yeah, out on the exit of Rivazza, powering to the line. One of the longest straights, not really straights, but flat out sections in the Formula 1 calendar. DRS open, heading towards Tamburello, and yeah, being heavy on the brakes into here. Very difficult braking zone and a very difficult chicane. Missing the first apex a bit, hitting the second one though, and good on the exit, losing a little bit of time. Heading in to Villeneuve, good commitment. Have to be very safe on the rear end, as it can step out on that first curb. But yeah, heading into Tosa, up to Piratella, one of the most difficult corners in terms of track limits. It is very easy to go out, but we nail the inside curb, gain a lot of time on the exit, over a tenth, and heading into Acqua Minerale, a very difficult uphill corner, also very easy to go out wide when it spits you out. We're very barely over our delta, but that gives you the purple second sector, jumping the Variante Alta very close to track limits, but we're heading down to Rivazza. No, do not invalidate on the first apex or on the exit, clipping the first apex nicely, staying a little bit tight on the curb, but clipping the second apex very well. That loses a bit of time as we clip the sausage curb, but DRS on to the line, around a 10th improvement to 15.4, puts us P6 for the moment. That should get us into Q3 safely, as weather conditions should be hitting soon. And as you can see in the background, there is rain spitting. We are P9. That improvement was very important, as we would have been knocked out with our previous lap time, or maybe we would have been P10. But good to improve in the final run of Q2, and we're going to head to a very interesting Q3 where the weather is changing, and it looks like it's going to be into tires for the rest of the qualifying session. Okay, so we're here, beginning of Q3, and as you can see, inter tires are on. It is fully raining around Imola, like it did at the end of Q2. It was drizzling, now it's wet. You can see the pit lane shiny from the rain that's just fell down. This is going to be an interesting qualifying. As you can see, I fueled up for more than one run. Like in real F1, we're going to try and do some consecutive running, get into rhythm on the wet tires, as I didn't have much practice on it beforehand. So we're looking to go faster and faster every lap, and we can see the start of Q3. The line where everybody drives is slightly darker than the wet line, but as you can see, it is pouring down with rain. It we go into the first corner, a lot of oversteer, still not being able to catch it, pushing maybe a little bit too much. Looking at the conditions, and as you can see on the bottom left, invalidated first lap, but let's see where we are, 26.6 on our first lap, but we saved battery towards the end of that lap, so we're looking at a huge improvement on this second lap, going consecutive runs to preserve the tire temperature. As you can see, it's raining enough so they're not overheating too badly, as we have a kick moving out the way, heading into Villeneuve, clipping the inside curb both times, good on the exit, a tiny bit of oversteer, but now into Tosa, looking to gain a lot of time, going nice and tight on the curb. As you can see, you gain around a tenth compared to the entry. So yeah, heading up into Piratella, now important braking zone, clipping the inside curb, nice and tidy on the exit, gain nearly half a second compared to the previous lap. Aqua Minerale much different to what it is in the dry. The second corner needs a small lift, maybe a reduction in gear as well, and heading into the chicane, very difficult as well in these conditions, but the car sticks nicely. We go a little bit slow on the exit, but still 7.5, nearly 8 tenths gained now as the lap time started to tumble from the top guys. We brake into Rivazza, again nice clipping the entry curb, and now the second apex also clipped nicely, nearly 1.2 seconds up on our previous lap time. What is it going to be, 25.4? We're up into P4, but we're going again. Like I said, consecutive lap times, just pounding and pounding, but after purple sector 1, a couple of mistakes in sector 2, and we're straight back into the pits, and that was the perfect time to come in, as we had around just over 5 minutes left in the session, getting ready to go out again on another slightly shorter run this time, get less fuel into the car, and go for hopefully 2 timed laps in that session to improve and maybe fight for pole position. Who knows? It's raining. Mistakes might creep in from the top guys. We might have a chance at going faster and faster in these conditions as we get the screen down. Going to change the tires as soon as I can. As you can see, 4:57, good time to go out for 2 runs, like dropping the fuel slightly, and we head straight out like in Q2. As the rain looks stable, doesn't look like it's worsening at any time soon, so the track conditions should be improving slightly with more cars running on it. So the track should be the fastest towards the end if the rain doesn't strengthen. It doesn't look like it is. The conditions look pretty stable at the moment, so we're going alright. And yeah, going out of the pit lane for our second run. Out of the pit lane and into Tamburello. Of course, our out lap not counting, but invalidated somewhere in the lap, and heading straight into our first lap after changing the tires. Still heavy on fuel, so this will be a bit of a banker, but good braking into Tamburello, gaining time on the exit, and heading into Villeneuve now. Good pace, gained nearly 1.5 tenths just out of Tamburello. Much more aggressive into Villeneuve, 4.5 tenths into Tosa, and we're going to head up the hill, saving the car from a little bit of oversteer of the curb. 6.5 tenths. The track has really improved after all the other guys have ran on it, and committing into Piratella, nice on the exit, 7.5 tenths. We're really going fast in these conditions. Purple first sector, going into Aqua Minerale now, up the hill. Be careful on the throttle, 9 tenths, nearly a second gain. This will be a very quick lap time. And into the chicane, braking, clipping both of the curbs, aggressive, 1.2, and heading down now into Rivazza. Not much, a little bit of ERS used to help us boost down this little straight, and now braking on the curb, clipping the inside. Nice on the exit, not invalidating. Good clip on the apex curb. 1.5 seconds gained. 2 purple sectors. Will this be the fastest lap time? Yes, it is. 1:23.8, provisional pole position. And skipping towards the end of the lap. Invalidation on the final attempt with 13 seconds to go. There's no battery to use. Still trying to save something from this lap. Gaining 4, nearly half a second. And yeah, that's an improvement. That's not an improvement, but it doesn't count. It is invalidated. 23.4 that might not be good enough for pole position, but we'll stick with our 23.8 as we have a kick improving into first, 22.8, nearly a second faster than what we have done, and in the end, completing the final lap, it's P5. Disappointing not to improve in that final run, not having enough battery to run right at the end of Q3, but we're happy with P5, not too bad. The time gap is huge, but we're looking to improve here in the race.
Imola, or to give it its full title, the International Autodrome of Enzo and Dino Ferrari. Enzo, one of the most evocative team creators in history, this place is named for their legacy, and it's a beautiful tribute. And like most Formula One tracks, Imola is driven anti-clockwise and offers our drivers today just over 3 miles of glistening wet tarmac to negotiate. It's made up of a roughly equal split of 9 right-hand turns and 10 left-hand. Watch the drivers on the way into turn 16. Managing their speed there will be crucial, with the rain only adding to the difficulty of that downhill braking section, which then, of course, leads them into the track's longest straight, though no DRS there today, of course.
As we are here, loading onto the grid, and like I expected, oh, it looks even heavy rain, but yeah, it's wet right from the beginning of the race, just like the humidity percentage showed on the qualifying screen. It's going to be an inter race, potentially drying up towards the end, so the end of the race might be interesting with used inters overheating, but we'll see how the weather behaves. It might just be wet enough, and with the length of this pit lane, it will be very difficult to box onto the dry tires, slick tires. So, yeah, we'll see how everything turns out towards the end, but now we're going to head to the grid. And we're here, and on the start of the formation lap, trying to get these tires up to temperature, although it's not as crucial as with the slicks, as they're already starting at 60 degrees, which is around the optimal 60-70 degrees on these inters, is about where they should be, up to 80, not anything more than 90, because then they're going to be cooking on the rear and on the front, which might be an issue towards the end on the drying track, but we're going to skip to the end of the formation lap. Nothing interesting happening, of course, just warming up our tires up to 50 degrees. I mean, they stay kind of stable, they're still in the green, so they will be usable as the rain is slightly heavier, but it's not wet enough for the full wet. We're going to line up to our spot with a slight angle, as this start-finish straight is not really a straight, there's a few curves in it. So we're going to look at how we can start this in the best possible way. We lined up perfectly to our grid spot, waiting for their guys at the end to line up. The green flag flies, and 5 red lights go out. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and away we go. The lights were held on for a little longer than normal, but we are away. Deploying ERS already in 5th, 6th gear when we grab full traction onto the track. On the wet track, of course, it's happening slightly later than on the dry track, but we managed to start with no big issues, as the guys ahead also very nicely start queuing up with no major events on the start. Nothing happening behind, nothing happening in front. We are keeping our P5 safely with half a second back to the guy behind. Of course, the Vinny ahead goes slightly wide out of Tosa, but we're looking at his rear end. Not a possible move into Piratella, as this is too much of a high-speed corner. Even in the wet, trying to stick anything down the inside would be very difficult. As we skip to lap 2 now, holding position against Vinny, but look at him, he's struggling on these tires. He's really sliding out of Aqua Minerale, and we're heading to the chicane. Of course, not enough space for a move there, and we weren't close enough as well, as he gets a terrible exit as well. We're going to deploy ERS slightly down this hill, maybe get some overspeed to compare to him. We are quicker than him down here in Rivazza, braking late. Just not enough overspeed on the apex to make that move, but now we'll have a chance on the main straight, lining it up, losing a little bit on the exit, of course expected by taking a slightly tighter line into the first Ravazza, but now we're speeding through a lot of battery usage, and we're side by side in the turn one, outbrake him, get to the apex, slight snap mid-corner, but we managed to keep the position safe. A small amount of oversteer. Will he look into a move into Villeneuve? No, he will not. And we keep P4. Now our job will be to try and catch back to the guys ahead, as we might have some better pace in clean air compared to them fighting, and we will skip 3 laps later. The pace pretty much stable. The guy ahead around 3.5-4 seconds ahead. We're pulling away from Vinny slightly. We're at around 1 second. Of course, in the wet, no DRS. As we have the first safety car coming out on lap 6. A little too early to box, as we will have to go to the end of those tires. And of course, with the track drying up towards the end, most likely, we will need this tire to stick. So we're going to stay out for this safety car. And yeah, catch up to the guys ahead, of course, bunch up. That might give us a chance to stick with the leaders on the restart and maybe fight for a podium place later on. And like I said, we skipped to the restart lap 9, 3 laps later. We are right on the back of the guys ahead, looking to maybe make some surprises, as the guys ahead seemed faster at the beginning of this stint, but just looking to stick with them, maybe count for an accident between them. Of course, it's wet. Someone might make a mistake, trying to keep some distance, maybe get a better run, as the leader floors it out of the second Ravazza, and we don't get the best of restarts. Vinny behind got a better restart than us, but now we're going to dump battery down this straight to get closer, as the leaders are going to go side by side. Maybe a little accident, maybe something for us. No, well behaved, as the kick moves into second place very cleanly, as Trimaker goes a little wide on that curb, losing momentum out of Tamburello, but there's no space to even try and move into Villeneuve, maybe into Tosa, but we don't get a good exit of that S, and we need to keep third place for now. But our goal for this second half of the stint will be to keep the leaders, maybe trying to undercut later on, and our goal pretty much failed by lap 14. We're 2.7 seconds behind, with Vin breathing out our neck the whole time, this whole stint. We're keeping those rear tires in. The rear tires are in a little bit of trouble. They're overheating a little bit in these conditions, and you might see later on the on-screen display that they are wearing much faster than the fronts. We will be struggling with traction, as it is coming to the pit stop window, lap 15, 16, of course. On the inter tire we can box lap 16, go half-half. As the leaders overtake each other, they're losing a lot of time. Someone might have made a mistake, as I'm trying to judge that, and clicking box this lap, maybe go for an undercut on these two guys. But we have to think about the latter stages of the race as well, when it's going to dry up. We'll need the best tires possible for those conditions, and as you can see, 46% on the rears in 15 laps. These tires are getting used, although the pace seems pretty stable. The car doesn't feel too bad at this moment. We are looking maybe for an undercut, but I'm still questioning myself whether we should keep it up on this tire for a few more laps, put more money into the end of the race, and use those fresher tires later, as we can have a huge snap of oversteer. But we can see the two guys ahead are staying out too. I've made a decision, we're staying out with them. We're trying to catch them up, as Trimaker has a 3-second penalty for track limits, and the kick comes in. We will follow him in straight in, gaining some time on the braking, a little bit of time, and we will switch onto a new set of inters that will go towards the end. Good turn in, a little bit too early for my liking. 2.6 second pit stop, which is not the best, but we have a new fresh set. The kick very close, but I think slightly further ahead. He might have got an optimal one. It will be an interesting 14 laps till the end. We will try to stick with the kick, but like we saw in the previous stints, he is faster, as we have an Aston Martin overtaking both of us. He might hold up to the kick, especially for these two corners on his used tires. his tires might be very used, just like ours, as we have a yellow flag behind. I think it's spinner, but that will not cause a safety car, which saves us as the Trimaker ahead has not boxed. So if he gets a safety car, we might be screwed as the kick goes down the inside, a little bit of contact, and as you can see, a traction battle, we win it against the Aston Martin. His used tires just not giving him anything as he look into Piratella, but no move on. We keep the place into P8, trying to follow through the kick and get as high up as we possibly can. We get a purple first sector. We're sticking with the kick, but there comes the safety car. Here comes the safety car. The Trimaker is still out on track. He will get a free pit stop against us. We gained some time on him, of course, on fresh tires, but that won't be enough, most likely, to stay ahead, as this pit lane is very long around this track. It takes a long part of the straight. So we will most likely stay in net 3-4 with the kick ahead, trying to keep the pace down on the delta. And like I said, 2-3, as the kick also boxed ahead for the medium tire. He's on the mediums as the rain is easing off. We will have a dry track in around few laps time. It is still wet, don't get me wrong, it is still wet, but the rain has visibly eased off for the moment, as it is getting true with the weather forecast before the race. As we get a small snap of oversteer, Vinny again on our neck, breathing with 2/10 behind. He is going to maybe try and make a move into T1, but we will have the battery on our side. We power past into turn 1. No move from Vinny. We're trying to stick with the leaders again, hoping for the best, trying to get these tires up to prime temperature as well. But looking at how more dry it looks, these tires might start overheating very soon, as the Inter is very sensitive to drying conditions. We will have to manage that towards the end of our stint. The kick is around P9, P10 at the moment, holding up his teammate, and we move on 4 laps later. It is still slightly wet. The kick is still in the same position as you can see on the screen, the two kicks following each other, so the medium is still not much quicker than the Inter. We will stay on track, but the leaders are far gone, and our tires are burning hot. 101 degrees on the rear. That is terrible, terrible temperatures. That's like slick territory temperatures. But yeah, we have to stick it through. We have only 5 laps to go. There's no way we could catch this back up on a slick tire, as the pit stop takes around 28 seconds on this track. It's way too long. We will have to be safe and just take this tire towards the end, as they're overheating horrendously right now. It's a difficult task to stay on track. 6/10 to Vinny. We will try to stick through it, risking a lot through Rivazza, trying to be as fast as we can. Half a second behind. This will be a close fight till the end, as I can visibly see that he has way more pace on his tires. And we skip to lap 30. He's still behind us, still breathing on our neck for half a second. And there is the call I didn't like to see. DRS is enabled, which means the track is dry enough for slick tires. But with 2 laps to go, it will be a stupid thing to go for a pit stop. The kick in 9th has pushed away from his teammate, which means the medium is starting to get faster, but he'll not have enough time to catch up to us, which means we made a better decision staying out on the Inter. But now with DRS, we are pretty much sitting duck down this straight. As the line goes there, Vinny will have the power to pull through. I'm still deploying ERS, trying to defend it, but he'll just fly down the outside. We have nothing to defend with. But now the goal on the final lap is to stay with him as close as we can. We can still repass him with the RS. It is going to be close. Our tires, I think, are in slightly worse conditions, as you can see in the dirty air, going wide on the first apex of Villeneuve. But we're sticking with him, 6/10. It's very close out of Tosa. He goes slightly wide. We keep a tighter line, and we gain slightly on the exit. It's looking good, as we can, if we can stick within 5-6 tenths. I think the move is on into turn 1. I'm trying to save my battery slightly, not using it throughout the lap, to get that final burst of power, as he loses a lot again for Aqua Minerale, but then accelerates better on the exit. His tires might be in a better state than ours, probably boxing under that safety car, not before it. But he loses a lot on the exit here, out of the chicane. Not the best chicane for him, as I deploy a little bit of ERS to get closer. 4 tenths within. This is the move is on. The move is on out of Ravazza. If we don't make a huge mistake on the exit of Ravazza 2, we can get this move on. We're half a second behind. His light is bleeping because it is wet conditions, but he just doesn't have the battery as well. We use the battery, we fly past down the inside, no defense even tried. We're much faster with DRS and battery. We're going to pull through in Tamburello and keep first place, but now the goal is to stay on track. It's very difficult to overtake around Imola, but he can't move into Villeneuve. It's way too high speed, and especially on a drying track on Inters, that might have ended in a horrible crash. We take a nice tight line into Tulsa, no move there either, trying to deploy ERS, trying to get the best exits possible, but he's very, very close, taking a more defensive line through Piratella, but there's no move on here. He's trying to take the outside line into Aqua Minerale, but just cannot fit his car in there. These corners are very one by one, but now he gets a great exit into the chicane. Will he try a move? He's looking down the inside, but it's just too tight again. This is a one by one corner. We're slightly wide of the second apex. He gets a great exit. We try to squeeze him to the grass, use a little bit of ERS. That's worked. But now he's going to try and go down the inside. We outbrake him, take the apex again, squirm a little bit to give him more space on the apex. But we keep P3. Great exit out of the Ravazza, and we go through the line. P3. What a stressful ending. These tires were finished. And here's the confirmation. P3 on track. No penalties to be applied. That was a nice and safe defense coming from my side in the last corner. I was way ahead at the apex. You would have to be a maniac to try and push through there. But we're going to visit the podium once again. Second race, of course, of 3. I couldn't make it last week, but it is our second podium in our second race in this series. What a consistent drive. Very safe on the tires, just keeping it on track, not getting into trouble. That was a great, great race to show, and we have a result to show for it. P3, great result for my team, McLaren. We can't be more happy with this. P3, of course, the leaders were out of reach. They are too quick for us this race. But yeah, we get P3, which also gifts us a P3 in the overall standings, only 8 points behind the leader. So it's going to be a tight championship fight. And like you can see on the top, it's heading now to Jeddah. So I'll see you next week for the Saudi Arabian GP. See ya.